Stop ignoring your feet. You glance at them in the morning. You slip them into socks. You forget about them for the rest of the day. But if you are over 60, your feet are sending you medical signals every single hour. And most of those signals have nothing to do with your feet at all. They are coming from an organ sitting much higher in your body. An organ that has no nerves to scream with. An organ that, when it begins to fail, whispers through your toes, your ankles, your heels, and the soles you stand on every morning. I am talking about your kidneys. And before this video ends, you will know the 7 warning signs in your feet that may mean your kidneys are quietly shutting down, ranked from the most overlooked to the one I almost missed in my own body, the one that nearly cost me everything. Stay with me, because sign number 1 is something more than half of people over 60 experience every week and dismiss as nothing. It is not nothing. It is your kidneys asking for help. Now, before we go any further, let me tell you who is speaking to you. My name is Ethan Cole. For 15 years, I worked as a cardiothoracic surgeon, which means I spent my career inside the chest watching what happens when the body's filtration and circulation systems begin to fail in tandem. I have stood over operating tables and seen kidneys the color of wet cement when they should have been the color of a ripe plum. But I am not here today as a man in a white coat. I am here as someone who, 3 years ago, sat on the edge of his own bed at 5 in the morning, looked down at his ankles, and saw 2 soft pillows of swelling where bone should have been. My fasting glucose was 124. My blood pressure was creeping, and my own kidneys were beginning to slip. I almost missed it. I was the expert, and I almost missed it. So if you have ever brushed off a strange sensation in your feet, please understand, you are not careless. You are human. And what I am about to share is the same checklist I now run on myself every single morning. Here is what most people get wrong. You think kidney failure is something that announces itself. You think there will be pain in your back, blood in the toilet, a sudden alarm bell. You have been told for decades that if something is seriously wrong, your body will tell you loudly. But after 60, the truth is the opposite. The real warning system for your kidneys is not your back. It is not your bladder. It is your feet. Because your kidneys control the fluid, the minerals, the waste, and the pressure that travel all the way down to the farthest, lowest, most gravity-dependent part of your body. And when the filter at the top begins to clog, the evidence pools at the bottom. That is why your feet know first. That is why everything you have tried, the creams, the soaks, the new shoes, the compression socks, has not worked. You were treating the smoke. The fire was 3 feet higher. Nobody explained that to you because in a 10-minute appointment, nobody has the time. But you have the time, right now, and that is what changes today. Let me tell you why this matters more than you may realize. 1 in 7 adults over the age of 60 has chronic kidney disease, and 9 out of 10 of them do not know it. By the time most people are diagnosed, they have already lost between 40 and 60% of their kidney function. 40 to 60% gone, silently. And here is the part that should make you sit up straight. Once kidney function drops below a certain threshold, the risk of a cardiac event triples. The risk of a fall, because of mineral imbalance and weakness in the legs, doubles. And the risk of losing your independence, of moving from your own home into assisted care, climbs in a way that no one in your family will see coming. Falls remain the leading cause of injury death in adults over 65, and 1 in 5 seniors who suffer a serious fall does not survive the following year. Your feet are the connection between your kidneys and your independence. That is not a metaphor. That is mechanics. But here is the good news, and I want you to breathe before I continue. Every single sign I am about to show you can be caught at home, in your bathroom, in less than 90 seconds a day. No equipment, no appointment, no cost. Just your eyes, your hands, and the knowledge I'm about to give you. So here is what we are going to do together. I am going to walk you through 7 warning signs in your feet that may indicate your kidneys are in trouble. We will start with sign number 7, which is the one most people notice but never connect to their kidneys, and we will climb, sign by sign, all the way to sign number 1. Sign number 1 is the one that almost slipped past me in my own bedroom. Fewer than 4% of people over 60 know to look for it, and yet it is one of the earliest mechanical clues that the kidneys have begun to fail. Stay with me all the way to that one, because if you only remember one thing from this entire video, I want it to be sign number 1. Before we begin, do me a small favor. In the comments below, tell me your age and tell me how many of these 7 signs you have noticed in the last month. Just a number, 1 to 7. That is all. It helps me understand who I am talking to, and it helps the next person who watches this video know they are not alone. Sign number 7 is persistent dryness and cracking on the heels and soles, the kind that returns no matter how much cream you apply. You have probably blamed your shoes. You have probably blamed the weather. You have probably bought 3 different lotions in the past year, and you have probably been frustrated when the cracks came back within a week. Here is what is actually happening. Your kidneys regulate the balance of water and electrolytes in your skin, including a mineral called phosphorus. When kidney function drops, phosphorus levels rise, and rising phosphorus pulls moisture out of the outermost layer of your skin from the inside. Think of your skin as a sponge. A healthy sponge stays soft because water moves freely in and out. But when the plumbing behind the sink begins to fail, the sponge dries from within no matter how much water you pour on the outside. That is why the cream stops working. You are wetting the surface of a sponge that is being squeezed dry from the back. A review published in the Journal of Nephrology examined nearly 2,000 patients with early-stage kidney decline and found that 53% presented with chronic foot dryness as their first dermatologic symptom, often years before any lab abnormality appeared. I want you to picture Walter, 68, a retired baseball coach from Knoxville. Walter came to me convinced he had a fungal infection. His heels were splitting open. His daughter had bought him 4 different creams. When we ran a simple metabolic panel, his kidney function was at 58% of normal. He cried in my office, not because he was sick, but because for 2 years he had felt like his own body was lying to him. Within 6 weeks of a simple dietary adjustment and proper hydration timing, his heels healed for the first time in 3 years. Here's what you do tonight. After your evening shower, while your feet are still slightly damp, apply a thin layer of plain petroleum jelly to your heels and the balls of your feet. Cover with cotton socks. Do this for 14 nights. If the cracks heal and stay healed, your skin barrier is intact and dryness was the cause. If they return within a week, it is time to ask your doctor for a basic metabolic panel. That panel costs almost nothing, and it can save your life. But the next sign is one that nearly every senior notices in the evening and dismisses as just being on their feet too long. It is far more serious than that. Sign number 6 is swelling around the ankles and the tops of the feet that gets worse as the day goes on. You sit down at the end of the evening. You take off your shoes, and you see the imprint of your sock pressed into your skin like a ring around a tree. You press your thumb into the swelling, and the dent stays there for a few seconds before slowly filling back in. That is called pitting edema. And while many people blame it on long days, hot weather, or simply getting older, it is one of the clearest signals that your kidneys are no longer flushing fluid the way they should. Your kidneys are the body's drainage system. When they work, they pull excess fluid out of your bloodstream and send it to your bladder. When they begin to fail, that fluid has nowhere to go, so gravity pulls it down, and it settles in the lowest parts of your body, your ankles, your feet, the tops of your toes. Imagine a kitchen sink with a slow drain. The water keeps coming in, but it cannot leave fast enough, so it pools. Your ankles are the bottom of that sink. A study from the American Journal of Cardiorenal Medicine tracked 440 patients with new-onset ankle edema and found that 44% had reduced kidney filtration that had not yet been diagnosed. 44%. Dorothy, 71, a retired schoolteacher from Phoenix, told me she had been wearing wider shoes for a year because her old ones no longer fit by evening. She thought her feet were spreading. They were not spreading. They were swelling. Her kidney function was at 61%. Within 8 weeks of repositioning her sleep and adjusting her sodium intake, her old shoes fit again. She sent me a photograph of herself in those shoes, and I keep it on my desk to this day. Here's what you do tonight. Sit in a chair, press your thumb firmly into the front of your ankle, just above the ankle bone, for 5 full seconds. Let go. If the dent disappears immediately, your circulation is moving fluid well. If the dent stays visible for more than 15 seconds, you are looking at pitting edema, and you need to ask your doctor about your kidney function within the next 2 weeks. But sign number 5 is more subtle, and most people feel it long before they ever see it. Sign number 5 is a deep, persistent itching on the soles of your feet that has no rash, no redness, and no visible cause. You scratch, and the itch moves but never leaves. You may have tried antihistamines. You may have changed your detergent. You may have blamed your socks. Nothing works because the itch is not coming from your skin. It is coming from the inside. When your kidneys cannot clear waste products properly, a buildup of toxins called uremic compounds begins to circulate in your bloodstream. These compounds irritate the tiny nerve endings in your skin, especially on the soles of your feet where nerve density is highest. Think of it like static on a radio. The signal is not broken, but the noise is so loud that the body cannot tune it out. The itch is the static. The kidneys are the broken antenna. Research from a clinical dermatology review of over 1,200 patients with early kidney impairment showed that 38% reported unexplained foot itching as one of their first symptoms, on average 18 months before formal diagnosis. 18 months. That is a year and a half of warning your body is trying to give you. Raymond, 74, a retired civil engineer from Tucson, told me he had been scratching the soles of his feet every night for 2 years. He had stopped sleeping in the same bed as his wife because the scratching kept her awake. When his blood work came back, his kidneys were filtering at 54% of normal. After a careful adjustment to his protein intake and a switch from over-the-counter pain relievers that had been quietly straining his kidneys for a decade, the itching faded within 3 weeks. He slept beside his wife again. He told me that night was the best of his life. Here's what you do tonight. Before bed, rinse your feet in cool, not cold, water for 60 seconds. Pat dry. If the itch returns within an hour, the cause is internal, not skin deep. Write it down on a calendar for 14 nights. Bring that calendar to your next appointment. A pattern on paper is louder than any complaint you can make in a 10-minute visit. But the next sign is one most people never look at, and it may be the most visible clue of all. Before I get to sign number 4, if this video has helped you so far, hit the like button right now. Not for me, for the next person over 60 whose feet have been trying to tell them something for years. Your one tap teaches the algorithm to show this to someone who needs it tonight. Thank you. Sign number 4 is a change in the color of your toenails, specifically a band of white at the base and a band of pink or red at the tip, with a sharp line dividing them. This is called Lindsay's nails, or half-and-half nails, and it is one of the most overlooked dermatologic signs in all of medicine. Most people look at their toenails and only check for fungus or discoloration from polish. They never look for the line. But the line is there, and when it appears, it is a near-direct readout of what your kidneys are doing. When kidney function declines, levels of a hormone called beta-melanocyte stimulating hormone shift, and the blood supply to the nail bed changes. The base of the nail loses its normal pink underlay, and a pale crescent forms. The tip retains its color. The result is a nail that looks like a small flag, half white at the bottom, half pink at the top. Picture a glass of water being slowly filled with milk from below. As the milk rises, the top of the glass stays clear, but the bottom turns opaque. That is what is happening under your toenail. A study in the Journal of Clinical Nephrology evaluated nearly 900 patients with chronic kidney disease and found that this nail pattern appeared in 41% of cases, often before symptoms became severe. Helen, 74, came to see me because she thought she had a nail infection. She had been treating her toenails with antifungal cream for 9 months. When I looked at her feet, I saw the line immediately. Her kidney function was at 49%. After 6 months of careful management, the line began to fade from the base of her nails upward, like a tide going out. She sent me a video of her nails. She was smiling like a child. Here's what you do tonight. Sit under a bright light. Look at the toenails of both big toes. If you see a white band at the base of the nail that is sharply separated from a pink or reddish band at the tip, take a photograph with your phone today. Take another in 30 days. If the line is still there or has grown, bring those 2 photos to your doctor. Photographic evidence is one of the most powerful tools you have in a short appointment. But the next sign is one you may have felt every morning for months without realizing what it meant. Sign number 3 is numbness, tingling, or a pins and needles sensation in your feet, especially when you first stand up in the morning. Many people brush this off as poor circulation or as a leftover from sleeping in an odd position. But when the sensation appears regularly in both feet and lasts more than a few minutes, it is often a sign of peripheral neuropathy driven by kidney dysfunction. When the kidneys fail to clear waste products from the blood, those toxins begin to damage the longest nerves in your body. The longest nerves run from your spine all the way down to your toes. They are damaged first because they have the most surface area exposed. Think of a garden hose stretched across a long lawn. If the water at the source is dirty, the dirt builds up at the far end of the hose first, and the spray gets weak. The far end of your nerves is the bottom of your feet. The dirt is the unfiltered waste. A clinical investigation from a neurology and nephrology collaboration looked at 620 patients with reduced kidney function and found that 29% had peripheral nerve changes detectable on simple exam, often before they had any awareness of a problem. Margaret, 75, from a small town outside Phoenix, told me that for almost a year she had felt like her feet were wrapped in thin cotton. She could feel her shoes, but only faintly. She had stopped walking her usual loop around the block because she was afraid of tripping. Her kidney function was at 52%. Within 10 weeks of changes to her medication list, the cotton feeling receded, and she walked her loop again. She walked it with her grandson the day she returned to it. He held her hand. Here's what you do tonight. Sit on the edge of your bed. Close your eyes. Have a family member lightly touch the top of your big toe, then your second toe, then your heel. Tell them which one they are touching without looking. If you cannot tell, or you guess wrong more than once, you have early sensory loss in your feet. And that warrants a serious conversation with your doctor about both your kidneys and your nerves. But sign number 2 is one that almost no one connects to the kidneys, and yet it is one of the strongest mechanical clues there is. Sign number 2 is a strange, persistent coldness in your feet, even when the rest of your body is warm, and even when the room is comfortable. You pull on socks. You sit closer to the heater. You put a hot water bottle at the bottom of the bed. The cold stays. Here is what most people do not know. When the kidneys decline, they fail to produce enough of a hormone called erythropoietin, which tells your bone marrow to make red blood cells. Fewer red blood cells means less oxygen carried to your extremities. Less oxygen means colder feet. The coldness is not a temperature problem. It is an oxygen problem. Picture a fireplace. Even if the wood is dry and the match is lit, the fire will not burn properly if you close the damper and starve it of air. Your feet are the far corner of the room. The damper is your kidneys. A multi-center study in the Journal of Internal Medicine examined just over 1,500 adults over 60 with persistent cold feet and found that 33% had measurable anemia linked to early kidney disease, often before any lab flagged them as anemic at all. Walter, the same retired coach I mentioned earlier, also had this. He kept telling me his feet felt like they were sitting in a cooler, even in July. When we corrected his underlying anemia and supported his kidney function, the warmth returned to his feet within 4 weeks. He told me he had forgotten what warm feet felt like. He had forgotten. That is what these slow declines do to us. They steal what we used to take for granted and we stop noticing the theft. Here's what you do tonight. After sitting still for 10 minutes in a warm room, place your palm on the top of your foot. Then place your palm on your forearm. If your foot feels noticeably cooler than your forearm, by an obvious margin, and this happens consistently for more than a week, it is time to ask your doctor for a complete blood count and a kidney panel together. Not one, both. Because in your body, they are not two separate systems. They are one. And that brings us finally to sign number 1. The one I almost missed. The one I want you to remember if you remember nothing else. Sign number 1 is a foamy or bubbly appearance in the toilet after you urinate, combined with a subtle puffiness on the tops of your feet in the morning. The reason this is sign number 1, and the reason it nearly slipped past me in my own bedroom 3 years ago, is that it is the earliest mechanical evidence that your kidneys are leaking protein. Healthy kidneys are like a coffee filter with very fine paper. They let water and waste through and keep protein in. When the filter begins to tear, even slightly, protein begins to slip through into your urine. Protein in urine causes foam. Protein lost from the bloodstream causes the blood to lose some of its ability to hold fluid in place, and that fluid migrates to the lowest, softest tissues in your body, the tops of your feet. So the foam in the toilet and the puffiness on top of the foot are not two separate problems. They are the same problem, told twice, in 2 different rooms of your house. A landmark study in a major nephrology journal followed nearly 2,400 adults over 60 for 5 years and found that those who reported both morning foot puffiness and persistent urine foam had a 62% higher risk of progressing to advanced kidney disease compared to those with neither sign. 62%, and almost none of them before the study had connected the two. Here is the patient's story I will never forget. Raymond, the engineer from Tucson, came back to me a year after his initial visit. His son had been visiting from out of state and had noticed both signs over the course of a single weekend: the foam in the morning, the soft tops of his father's feet at night. Because Raymond had heard me talk about this once, he listened to his son. He called me on a Monday. We caught his decline early enough that 3 years later, he is still off dialysis. Off dialysis. He plays catch with his grandson in the backyard every Sunday. He sent me a photograph last spring. The boy is laughing. Raymond is bending down. His feet, in old leather shoes, are firmly on the grass. Here is what you do tomorrow morning. When you wake, before you do anything else, look at the tops of your feet. Press gently. Note whether they look puffier than they did the night before. Then when you use the bathroom, look at the toilet bowl after you urinate. If you see foam that lingers for more than 30 seconds, that is not normal. If you see both signs, the puffy tops and the lingering foam, on the same morning, more than twice in a week, call your doctor. Not next month. This week, ask for a simple urine test called a urine albumin to creatinine ratio. It costs almost nothing. It takes minutes, and it can add years to your life. If you are going to try one thing from this entire video, please let it be this morning check. It takes 90 seconds. It costs nothing, and it may be the most important 90 seconds of your day. Now, I want to talk to you honestly about why no one has ever told you any of this. You may be wondering how it is possible that in a lifetime of doctor's appointments, no physician has ever taught you to look at your own feet this way. The answer is not that your doctors do not care. Most of them care deeply. The answer is that the average primary care appointment in this country is now under 12 minutes. 12 minutes to greet you, ask about your medications, address your top concern, listen to your heart, look at your chart, and send you home. There is no time in 12 minutes to teach you the 90-second morning check. There is no time to explain Lindsay's nails or pitting edema or the difference between dry skin and yermic skin. The system is not built for prevention. It is built for crisis. And the older you get, the more the system assumes that what is happening to you is simply aging, when in fact, much of it is treatable, reversible, and visible from the comfort of your own bathroom. You were never meant to fall through the cracks. You fell through them because the cracks were engineered into the schedule. That is not your fault. That is the architecture. But the moment you learn to read your own body, you step outside that architecture and you take back something that was always yours to begin with. In the comments below, type the words, "I will try." Just those 3 words. It tells me you are ready to make the 14-day promise, and it tells the next person who finds this video that they are not alone in trying. And if you have someone in your life over 60, a parent, a spouse, a friend from church, a neighbor down the street, share this video with them tonight. Not tomorrow, tonight. Because the difference between catching this early and catching this late is, very often, the difference between independence and dependence. And the people we love deserve every chance we can give them. You are not too old to change the course of your health. You are exactly old enough to finally know what to look for. Take care of your body. It's the only home you have.